welcome to Compass Christian Church. Glad you're with us this morning. We like to figure out who is probably watching for the first time, or if you're new, maybe you've never been to our building before all this stuff happened. We'd love to just, if you could comment below that I'm new or new here or first timer or whatever. We'd love to just reach out to you, let you know a little bit more about us. Man, we are excited about worship. I tell you, just the song that we just got done practicing, it is already just excitement knowing that we serve a mighty God, a God that just, He is a lion and a lamb. He is victorious, and no matter what, He is God Almighty. So let's sing the song as we praise and worship our Heavenly Father. We do serve a mighty God, and this song really speaks about the fact that we need him in our life. And so many times I'm guilty of this. I know you might be as well, that we try to do this life on our own. But maybe during this song and as we worship God, we can kind of pause a little bit and just reflect that we need God in our life. We need him to guide us, to lead us, instruct us, and most importantly, just to be with us as we live this world in this world, and as we're trying our very best to be ambassadors for him. So let's sing the song as we continue our worship this morning.
Let me begin by asking a question. What's the best advice that you've ever received? I asked people to share those words of wisdom on our Facebook page this past week, and I was overwhelmed. Here are just a few of the 200-some responses that I got. One person wrote, "Nothing worthwhile can be." A popular one was, "Just because you can doesn't mean you should." Someone else wrote, "Don't be so focused on the destination that you miss the journey." Here's a thought-provoking one. "If you want others to be happy, practice compassion. If you want to be happy, practice compassion. And then there were some of those familiar ones. Take care of the small stuff. Don't sweat the small stuff. Remember, it's all small stuff. Someone wrote, don't box color your hair. Since that came from a lady, I guess that's something you ladies will understand. Someone else wrote, learn from the past rather than live it. And then there were those familiar cliches, like everything happens for a reason. Practice what you preach. Measure twice, cut once. Let go and let God. Pay it forward. And kill them with kindness. Here's one that several of you from the Full Bean Church may remember. Do the right thing, the right way, for the right reasons. E.L. Jones, our other preaching minister, shared this one with me. He said that someone once told him, keep old people happy. He went on to say that they said, if you do something nice for an older person, everyone will hear about it. And if you do something mean to an older person, everyone will hear about it. But of course, my favorite was the one by Irma Bombeck, who said, when your mother asks, do you want a piece of advice, understand that this is merely a formality. It doesn't matter if the answer is yes or no, you're going to get it anyway. You know, King Solomon of the Old Testament had some advice on getting advice. Let me show you what I mean. If you have your Bible with you this morning, or if your smartphone has a Bible app, why not get it out and turn with me to the Old Testament book of Proverbs, the Old Testament book of Proverbs, chapter 12. In Proverbs chapter 12, verse 15, we read this passage. Solomon writes, the way of a fool seems right to him, but a wise man listens to advice. Did you hear that? A wise man listens to advice. It's funny, we're so quick to give advice, but Solomon seems to applaud the man who listens to advice. Now let's be honest, getting advice is actually easy. All you have to do is show up somewhere with a baby, and all kinds of people will quickly give you advice on how you ought to raise your child. Or try to go into business for yourself, and there'll be plenty of people who'll be glad to tell you how to spend your advertising dollars, what your prices should be, what your hours should be, and on and on. I can remember years ago when I helped coach a Little League baseball team, and even though we went on to win the championship that year, there were more than a few people who thought that we needed their input on how to put together a winning team. By the way, their advice usually involved more playing time for their kids. Now, the point I'm getting at is this. There are tons of advice out there, and plenty of people more than willing to offer it to you. But the problem with that is that most of that unasked for advice is worth what you pay for. And taking the wrong advice can get you into trouble. You see, if you're in the process of trying to get your act together, and most of us, to be honest, that's how we're living our lives today, then we need to fine-tune the art of taking advice. Everyone needs advice. And the book of Proverbs tells us that it is absolutely essential to take advice in order to succeed in life. Solomon would later say in Proverbs chapter 19, verse 20, listen to advice and accept instructions, and in the end, you will be wise. But here in Proverbs 12:15, he says, the way of a fool seems right to him, but a wise man listens to advice. So this morning, what I want to do is I'm going to share just a few bits of advice that I think will help us to develop the skill of listening to advice. Let me show you what I mean. The first thing I'm talking about here is when you seek advice, you need to be selective. Folks, you can't get advice from just about everyone. Though sometimes it seems like everyone is trying to give it to you, you have to choose carefully who you'll listen to. That's why I'm cautious about unasked for advice. People who are wise rarely attempt to advise you unless you ask for it. And the reason is that they're wise enough to know that you have to be ready to hear advice before it's going to do any good. So before you seek advice from anyone regarding a problem that you're having, or a decision that you may be facing, be careful to choose the right person to give you. Proverbs 13, verse 7 in the Living Bible says it very plainly, if you're looking for advice, stay away from fools. In other words, stay away from people who want to tell you how to run a certain area of your life that they're unable to manage themselves. I mean, you wouldn't ask Linda Wolf for advice, would you? Now, you're probably wondering who Linda Wolf is, but Linda Wolf, actually born Linda Lou Taylor, is an Indiana woman who holds the Guinness Book World Record for most marriages, 23. And she says she's actually looking for number 24. According to Miss Wolf, she's been married to a convict, a preacher, a musician, a homeless man, several men who beat her, and even 2 gay men. I want to get married again, she recently told the Garnet News Service, because it gets lonely. Now, I don't mean to be mean or sound cruel, but you wouldn't ask Linda Wolf for marriage advice, would you? Because you know that when you need advice, you seek out people who you not only admire and respect, but people who have credibility to give you advice. Solomon said it this way. He said, "He who walks with the wise grows wise." Now, before you go to someone for advice, this is what you need to look for. First of all, you need to look for someone who's been there, done that. I mean, if you're poor and you want to become rich, you would seek out the advice of someone who was poor and became rich. I mean, you wouldn't seek advice from somebody like Elaine Marshall, one of the wealthiest women in America, for financial advice, would you? Why? Because she inherited her $17 billion of wealth from her husband, J. Pierce Marshall. If you really wanted advice on how to become rich, then maybe you'd ask somebody like Bill Gates, a college dropout, but also the founder of Microsoft, who once again is one of the richest individuals with an earned, not an inherited, an earned fortune of over $100 billion. Folks, that's 1 with 11 zeros after. Now, I realize that you'll probably never get the chance to sit down with Bill Gates and get some financial advice, but you can find someone who has faced similar challenges that you are facing now, and people who faced it successfully, and then ask them how they did. I think that's what I admire most about those 12-step programs and why they're so successful. There's nothing really magical about the 12 steps. The power is in the movement that comes from one person helping another overcome that struggle with addiction. And the reason that they're able to help them is because they themselves have been there, done that. If the person giving advice doesn't understand what you're going through, then you're probably just going to get these cliches and they may not be much use to you, and you'll just end up feeling like a failure. But if you talk to someone who has successfully overcome your problem, the problem that you're facing now, whether it's a marital problem, whether it's a besetting sin, whether it's a business setback, whether it's some kind of addiction, whatever it might be, it may be that they will be able to give you advice on how they dealt with their situation. Better advice. Because why? Because they've been there, done it. So look for someone who's had experience. Look for someone who's been there. And secondly, find someone who has your best interests in mind. I understand that when you ask for advice, you're putting yourself in somewhat of a vulnerable position. And so you need to be sure that the person you ask has your best interests at heart. That he or she isn't advising you with a self-serving or hidden agenda. So don't take advice from the wrong person. Find someone who has your best interests at heart. When you seek advice, be selective. Secondly, when you seek advice, you have to be receptive. Let's be honest, one of the main reasons we hesitate to ask people for advice is because we're afraid of hearing what we don't want to hear. In the book of Ecclesiastes, Solomon says it this way. He says, "It is better to be a poor but wise youth than to be an old and foolish king who refuses all advice." I don't know about you, but I have found that some of the biggest mistakes I've made in my life are the decisions that I made unadvised. In fact, many of the greatest challenges I face right now can be traced back to a stubborn refusal to seek good advice. But once again, our scripture for today, Solomon says, "The way of a fool seems right to him, but a wise man listens to advice." And just because you make a foolish decision once, doesn't mean that you have to keep making foolish decisions. But you will continue to find it until you open up your heart to the advice of good and godly people. Take it from someone who's been there, done it. Be receptive to advice and be willing to hear what you don't want to hear. So when it comes to getting advice, you have to be selective. You have to be receptive. And thirdly, you have to be objective. Folks, you've got to understand that not one person has all the answers. There's not one human being that you can go to for advice on everything all the time. Besides, getting advice from other people only allows, let me say this way. Getting advice isn't about letting other people make a decision for you. Getting advice is the process of getting an objective view of your problem so that you can make a wise decision. Because the decision that you make belongs to you. And even if you do follow someone else's advice, it doesn't absolve you of your responsibility for your action. It's still your decision. You're the one who has to live with the consequences. So that's what I mean when I say you need to have an objective view of your situation. Now, how do you do that? Well, Solomon tells us in Proverbs 15, verse 22, plans fail for a lack of counsel. But with many advisors, they succeed. In other words, you don't go to one person for advice. You go to 2, or 3, or 5 or more godly people, and you seek their input. And if everyone says the same thing, then your decision is easy. Now, chances are you'll probably hear a variety of opinions, and that's not necessarily a bad thing, because it gives you the opportunity to examine the situation from all sides. Solomon said it this way in Proverbs 13, verse 16, every prudent man acts out of knowledge. In other words, the more information you get, the more input you get, the more research you do, the better your decision will be. But once again, it's your decision. You have to live it. You have to face the consequences and or reap the reward. So make sure that you're getting an objective view of the problem. And again, you do that by seeking the advice from many, not just one. I need to conclude this. And as I do so, let me say this. I realize that asking for advice, or I hope that you do, asking someone for advice is probably the greatest compliment that you could offer to that person. So you make sure that that person is deserving of that compliment. Seek advice before trying to tackle any major problem or decision on your own. But when you seek that advice, ask yourself the following question. Has this person been there? Does this person have my best interest at heart? Will this person tell me what I need to hear, not just what I want to hear? And can this person be one of a group of friends who help me develop an objective view of this situation? If you do this, then your life will reflect the reality of God's promise. And that is to listen to advice and accept instruction. And in the end, you will be wise. Proverbs chapter 19. Now, if you're one of those ones who posted some words of wisdom on our Facebook page this past week, you might have seen where Darlene Butler, one of our church members, asked me what my best words of wisdom were, the ones that I enjoy. Well, here they are. The best words of wisdom that I could have given to you this morning are some words that were spoken to a group of young people years ago. You see, the speaker that day said this. He said, if you give your life to Jesus, and it's all in vain, you've not lost anything. You've lived a good life. But if you don't give your life to Jesus, and He is who He says He is, then you've lost it. In other words, he said, better to have Jesus in your life and not need Him than to need Jesus and not Him. Folks, I can't say it any better than that. You need Jesus Christ in your life before it's too late. And we can help. Give us a call and let us help you. That's the best advice that I can give. Let's pray. Father, I do pray that we would heed Solomon's advice, that we would seek out advice in those situations in our life that we need help. And Father, we would do it from people who've been there, done that, people who have our best interests at heart, but people who are godly people and who know more than we do, Father, what we want to do most in our life is to live a life that pleases you. Forgive us in those times when we have failed you, when we acted harshly or quickly. Help us to be wise in seeking out the advice of others. Help us to be wise and listen to the advice. And most of all, Father, help us to heed the advice of realizing that we need Jesus in our life. Because, Father, only with Him is this life makes sense. So bless us as we strive to do that. Forgive us in those times that we fail. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. It's at this time this morning that we're going to share in communion time. Our hope is that together we will remember Jesus the way He's asked to be remembered. In just a few moments, E.L. Jones is going to come and share a communion thought with you. But before he does, our worship team is going to lead you in another song.
Savior say, thy strength indeed is small. Child of weakness, watch and pray. Find in me thine all in all. Jesus paid it all to Him I owe. Sin had left a crimson stain, He washed it white as snow. Oh, now indeed I find Thy power and Thine alone can change a leper's spots and melt a heart of stone. And when before the throne I stand in Him complete, Jesus died my soul to save. My lips shall still repeat, Jesus paid it all to Him I owe. Sin had left a crimson stain, He washed it white as snow. Sin had left a crimson stain, He washed it white as snow. He washed it white as snow. He washed it white as snow. Oh, praise the one who paid my debt and raised His life up from the dead. Oh, praise the one who paid my debt and raised His life up from the dead. Oh, praise the one who paid my debt and raised His life up from the dead. Oh, praise the one who paid my debt and raised His life up from the dead. Jesus paid it all to Him I owe. sang, He washed it white as snow.
Yes, He did.
Washed it white as snow.
Amen.
So as we come together and we gather to remember Jesus, I want to just read some scripture this morning that really explains why Christ came. And it's found in the book of John, the very first chapter, starting with verse 1. We're going to go to verse 1 through verse 14. It says this, In the beginning was the Word was with God, and the Word was God. And He was with God in the beginning. And through Him all things were made, and without Him nothing was made that has been made. In Him was life, and that light is the light of all mankind. The light shines in the darkness, and the darkness is not overcome it. And there was a man sent from God whose name was John, who came as a witness to testify concerning that light, so that through him all might believe. He himself was not the light, he came only as a witness to the light. The true light that gives light to everyone was coming into the world. He was in the world, and though the world was made through him, the world did not even recognize him. He came to that which was his own, but his own did not receive him. Yet to all who did receive him, to those who believe in his name, he gave the right to become children of God. Children born not of natural descent, nor of human decision or a husband's will, but born of God. The Word became flesh, made his dwelling among us. We have seen his glory, the glory of the one and only Son, who came from the Father, full of grace and full of truth. As we gather this morning to remember Jesus Christ, I pray that we, the church, remember that Jesus Christ came to all mankind. He doesn't play favoritism. He doesn't handpick or choose or whatever. He has come for all mankind to be able to have a connection to receive God's amazing grace. So as we remember that sacrifice that He gave His own life, let us please remember that we all can be children of God and belong to Him. Let's pray. Father, thank you so much for sending us your Son, Jesus Christ. God, I just thank you, Lord, that He came so that we might have life and live. Father, He is the true light that gives light to everyone. And Him coming to this world is basically, Father, just an amazing gift that allows us to receive salvation, to be God's children. So God, we thank you for Jesus. Thank you for this time. Even though some of us we're at home and we're watching online, thank you for this time that we can just set apart and remember Jesus. Remember that He came willingly, giving His life, dying on the cross, so that we might live. So Father, I thank you for that. I thank you, Father, that we can all be children in your eyes. And God, I now pray this prayer in the name above every name, in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen. Hey everybody, I got some exciting news, and most of y'all probably already heard this news, but next week, June 7th, we're all coming home, right? We're all going to be back together, and we said this, we're not opening back up because we never closed down, we never shut our doors down. We remained open throughout all of this, online, by having drive-in church, phone calls, emails. I mean, we've never closed, but we are re-entering into our building and being together, and that's awesome. We're going to have 2 services next week, a 9 o'clock and a 10:30 service. Please be looking out for your email next week. We'll be sending out some information on email, social media about how we're going to even maybe work these services and y'all coming in. It's going to be a short service, but we're going to be doing our very best to keep things clean and safe for you. We are highly recommending that you do wear masks when you come. We'll have hand sanitizer all throughout this building, and we have a lot of other things in place to make sure that we are safe and that we're doing the best that we can to come together and worship God. So that's awesome. It is also our last Sunday that we're collecting items from Moments of Hope, house care items, shampoo, soap, deodorants, detergent, any of that stuff. If you want to bring it, you can bring it June 7th, last Sunday for that. And thank you all so much for all that y'all have done in this time. We miss you, we love you, and guess what? We're coming back. That's right. Oh, yeah.